From Broadcasting House in Englandville, this is Newshour on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation in Freetown. I'm Cecilia Alice Sise. Your top stories this morning. President Bill calls for bold leadership to drive critical economic decisions for Africa's future at Leadership Colloquium in Freetown. SLPHA and SLISA tightened safety rules for container trucks nationwide. And heavy rainfall destroys livelihoods in some parts of Freetown. Well, these stories and more plus sport and entertainment are lined up in this edition of the news. Stay with us. President Julius Maada Bio has said Africa requires leaders that are willing to make critical choices that would shape the continent's economic design to transform the next generation. He was addressing dignitaries at the closed session of the Leadership Colloquium held at Bintumani Conference Center in Freetown. Our State House correspondent Margaret Senger reports.
The colloquium opened with strong calls for Africa to invest in its youth. President Julius Maada Bio described young people as the driving force behind Africa's future and development. He recalled his role as a young man in promoting peace and democracy in Sierra Leone and challenged the youth to follow a path of service and patriotism.
The quality of life we are going to enjoy depends on how much we invest in the young people. Their education, the example we set, their governance, because we are going to be, we'll be living through a period when they will be in charge. So from governance to professions like medicine, nurses, and all of this, it depends. If we give them quality education, fit for purpose education, I'm actually catering for my future. That is how selfish I am.
First Lady Dr. Fatima Bio encouraged young people to embrace education as a tool for empowerment and national development. She also stressed the importance of gender equality and praised President Bio for creating opportunities for young people to serve in his government.
If we fail to invest in our young people, not only in speeches but in systems, we risk holding back the very future we are trying to build. Today, we celebrate a leader who has placed human capital development at the center of our national progress, recognizing that the true wealth of any nation lies not in its natural resources, but in the strength, skills, and potential of its people. Since His Excellency assumed office, he is deliberate in investment in young people, is building a generation that is skilled, confident, and economically empowered, capable of driving Sierra Leone's stability and Africa's transformation.
Minister of Youth Affairs Ibrahim Sano urged young people to focus on Sierra Leone's future within the framework of Africa's Union Agenda 2063. He said the continent's progress depends on the energy and commitments of youth.
Africa is the youngest continent, but this is not a burden. It is our greatest advantage. The energy of Africa can no longer be underestimated. Our creativity can no longer be ignored. Our innovation can no longer be underfunded. This governance is more than a conference. It is movement from ideas to action, from potential to power, and from participation to leadership.
Delivering the keynote address, Fuad Jena of Ethiopia Youth Council said, Africa's greatest asset is not its minerals, but its young people. He called on youth to rise to the challenge and prepare to lead the continent in the future.
But on the other hand, Africa possesses something extraordinary. We are the youngest continent in the world. More than 60% of the African population is under the age of 25. This is not merely a demographic status. It is Africa's greatest strategic advantage, because within this generation lies unmatched creativity, innovation, resilience, and energy, and also courage. The story of Africa will not be written by chance. It will be written by the people, and more specifically by the young Africans, bold enough to imagine a different future and brave enough to build it.
His Majesty the King Ogiama Otuwase of Warri State, Nigeria, also highlighted the importance of youth leadership that respects Africa's tradition and values.
Africa does not suffer from a shortage of intelligence, talent, or ambition. What this continent requires, urgently and at scale, are the institutions and leadership cultures capable of converting that potential into transformation, which actually reaches people in ordinary communities.
Other speakers echoed calls for youth empowerment, institutional reform, and innovation across the continent. The event also created a moment for dignitaries to dine with the president as he marked his 62nd birthday. Family members, ministers, and invited guests used the occasion to commend the president for his leadership and commitment to young people. The colloquium continues with discussions on governance, innovation, and youth participation under Agenda 2063.
In an effort to complement the government's human capital development agenda, the Lifeline Nehemiah project has certified dozens of young people after successfully completing an intensive year of vocational training program in various skill areas. The graduation ceremony highlighted the organization's commitment to empowering vulnerable youth through technical and vocational education, equipping them with practical skills to become self-reliant and productive members of society. Emmanuel Samoa reports.
Speaking during the event, Executive Director of Lifeline Nehemiah Project, Prince Tommy Williams, reflected on the organization's journey and its long-standing mission to address youth unemployment in Sierra Leone. He recalled that over 16 years ago, former Nehemiah Boys staff members and partners gathered to discuss the future of disadvantaged youth in the country. According to him, the meeting resulted in a clear resolution to tackle the growing unemployment crisis among Sierra Leonean youth. That vision led to the establishment of the Better Tomorrow program, which has now evolved into a fully fledged technical and vocational institute. He further called on government, development partners, and community stakeholders to intentionally invest in young people, stressing that the future of Sierra Leone depends on empowering its youth population.
To intentionally invest in young people, that's my own very plea, that we choose intentionally for invest inside young people, because this country follow able for rebuild the future, that way we intentionally invest inside the young people.
Among the graduates was Fatmata Saidu, whose story inspired many at the ceremony. She narrated how she struggled academically after failing to pass a WASC examination, an experience that left her discouraged and uncertain about her future. Despite pressure to rewrite the exams, she decided instead to pursue vocational training. Defying societal stereotypes, she enrolled in the plumbing program at Lifeline and successfully completed the course.
Today I can proudly say that I am a professional plumber capable of plumbing an entire house on my own, something I am proud of.
Another graduate, Fatmata Abdullahi Jallo, described the program as life-changing. Living with a disability, she admitted that she once believed she would never be able to achieve anything meaningful. However, After acquiring ICT skills through the institute, she now feels equipped to compete for employment opportunities and encourage other persons living with disabilities to pursue vocational and technical training.
I feel say like where are they with this kind of condition, I not go ever do anything better in my life.
I am happy for this achievement, having acquired ICT skills, which has earned me some skills to compete for job, because before now, I thought with my disability condition, I would not be able to do anything meaningful with my life.
The Lifeline Neymar project continues to stand as a beacon of hope for many vulnerable youths, proving that technical and vocational education remains a powerful tool in addressing unemployment and poverty in Sierra Leone. Emmanuel Samoa, SLBC.
Now, some residents at Macaulay State and its surroundings have called on road authorities to reconstruct the road linking Mountain Court and Hillside Bypass Road. They claimed since the route was constructed, nearly 400 road accidents have been reported. Their call is for the road to be used as a one-lane route. Cynthia Kamara takes up the story.
This road links Mountain Court community and the new Hillside Bypass Road. Its existence is to reduce traffic congestion in the east and western parts of the country. What is intended to be a blessing, community people and other road users now described as appears dead trap. Just like this keke, certain vehicles, residents say, struggle to climb the hilly road the same way they struggle to come down. Such circumstances, including overspeeding and overtaking, they say, are among the key factors for road accidents that have claimed the lives of many.
I am standing here at the Hillside Bypass Road, and since this road was constructed years back, residents residing at this crucial intersection connecting Hillside Bypass Road, Macaulay Street, Ranger Street, Regent Road and Mountain Court Junction, they have confirmed that over 400 accidents have occurred at this particular intersection, where a lot of lives have been lost. At this point, they are calling on governments to ensure that this particular Hillside Bypass Road is used as one way.
Accident boku, bike and bike, motorcar and motorcar.
Accident is many here. We are pleading for authorities to use this road as one way.
Right now we got two people when they should not right and they walk out and they do not pass and do it for them.
I make this road the first accident to have been here.
I witnessed the first accident that occurred on this road. The vehicle ran into Bishop Elwin Church at Macaulay Street. All of the passengers died.
It go right inside. Everybody died. Tell to the driver all. Witness, I see.
We the so we accidents. So like in common to we now.
We experience accidents here on a daily basis. To a point, it's now common. Authorities should give attention to this road.
Mostly for canon accidents can be.
However, the Director General of SLRA says the road is standard as per the topography of the road.
In the United Kingdom, United States, or wherever, the same standards, the same design principles would have been used, and of course the road couldn't have been any different from what you're seeing there. Accidents are caused, the factors responsible for accidents are three major ones. You have the engineering aspect, which has to do with the road, how it was designed and built. You have the vehicle aspect, tells you whether the vehicle is in a good condition, whether the brakes are good, whether the vehicle is functioning very well, and the lights are good, and so forth and so on. And the third aspect has to do with the driver himself, the human element. People, there's an alternative. Go through Macaulay Street and then get to a circular road. As simple as that. If you know you don't have a vehicle good enough, don't use that here.
Meanwhile, community members say many lives are lost to road accident in that area. At the moment, they are mourning the loss of a 24-year-old woman about 2 weeks ago. They are appealing to SLRA to limit the road to a one-way route. For SLBC Newshour, Cynthia Kamara reporting.
Now, the Sierra Leone Ports and Harbours Authorities and the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority have announced stricter safety measures for container trucks operating across the country following a series of fatal road accidents involving vehicles. Under the new directive, trucks without valid license, insurance, and operational document will be denied access to the port. Vehicles without visible registration numbers will also not be permitted entry. The Road Safety Authority says handheld verification devices will be deployed at the Queen Elizabeth II Quay Gate to confirm vehicle license in real time. Authorities further announced that trucks with worn-out tires, defective locking systems, or unsafe containers will not be allowed to transport cargo. Mandatory roadside inspections will also be intensified along major haulage corridors to verify tire conditions, load security, and overall roadworthiness. In addition, container trucks will now operate only on designated routes and during approved hours, while repeat offenders could face blacklisting from port access and cargo handling operations. Now, the two institutions say these measures are intended to improve accountability, strengthen enforcement, and prevent further tragedies linked to cargo transportation. The Sierra Leone Ports and Harbours Authority and the Sierra Leone Road Safety Authority are urging all transport operators, trucking companies, and stakeholders to comply fully with the new directives in the interest of public safety. Away from that, residents and vegetable farmers at New Englandville are counting heavy losses following a heavy downpour on the night of 12th May that destroyed farms and disrupted small businesses in the community. Aminata Saise went to see the scene and compiled the report.
The rainfall reportedly washed away several vegetable plantations, including potato leaves, cassava leaves, crane, and other crops cultivated by local farmers. Many affected farmers described the situation as devastating, saying the destruction has left them struggling to survive. Chairlady of the New Englandville Vegetable Planters Association, Nana Kamara, blamed the recurring problem on poor waste disposal and inadequate drainage systems from residents living at the hilltop. She said blocked waterways continue to channel flood waters into the farming area whenever there is heavy rainfall.
Also, we earn so much because this backyard garden we do.
This compound farming helps us a lot. I remember when there were no houses on the hilltop, the water was controllable. But now that many houses have been built there, erosion has become a serious problem because there is no proper drainage system to channel the water. If the water can be properly controlled for us, we can even plant rice in this area. I also recall that during the war, we who were farming here helped to feed many Sierra Leoneans.
During the war, when the war been there, this municipality that will be able to feed the people.
One of the affected farmers, Yebu Sise, said the incident has left her without food or income to support her family.
The
heavy rains have washed away my plantation, and now I have no source of income. I came this morning to collect the little crops that remain so I can replant them in another area. Farming in this area is my only source of income. I lost my husband.
A vegetable seller, Hawana Tukagbo, also expressed frustration, explaining that she visited the area to purchase vegetables but found that most of the farms had been destroyed by the flood waters.
I sell vegetables to support myself and my children. I usually collect the vegetables from my mother's farm, and when she does not have enough, I collect from a friend's farm to sell. That is how I survive with my children. But when I came this morning, there were no vegetables left to sell because the heavy downpour had washed away their plantations.
The affected
Also, farmers of Dwaza community in Freetown are raising the alarm over what they describe as worsening sanitation and drainage problems. They warned that piles of waste blocking gutters are now putting homes, roads and lives at risk as the rainy season intensifies. Esther Susanette Bossy visited the community and compiled this report.
In Dwaza community, piles of debris and waste remain unattended to, following a heavy downpour about a week ago. Residents say a construction at a nearby church at Dongpol is worsening the situation as water overflows the main drainage due to the debris blocking it. Community people also warn that the situation could escalate if no urgent action is taken. Samuel Kamara, a bike rider, says that the situation now poses a serious danger to road users.
The dirty affect we rider then.
I have been riding bike in this community for some time now, and everywhere is overcrowded. Whenever it rains, all the wastes end up on the streets, making movements very difficult for us. The road is very tight. Accidents happen here frequently because of the debts and blocked drainages system in this community. We, the youth volunteers, recently tried to clear parts of the debts to help us clear the drains completely.
One let them come with the mutka then. They call this park so you send up volunteers to pull out the gutter. Now the road are tight. Let them take her.
Other residents, Amara Sise and Kadi Bindi, say waste blockage is making it difficult for water to pass freely through the drainages.
The dirty, it don't there a while from the dry season. So
we have been experiencing this problem since the dry season. We believe the church construction nearby has contributed to the dirt and debris falling into the gutter and blocking the drainage system. We are calling on the relevant authority and organization to come our aid and clear the waste before the situation turns into disaster during the rainy season.
They plead to the government and Soriat organization there for let them come to aid and see and clear that dirty.
Now that the rains have started coming, we have already experiencing flooding because the gutters are blocked. This is really disturbing us. Unless the youths who come together to clean the waste, we are yet to hear from the councillor who assured us of contracting Freetown City Council to intervene.
As the situation unfolds, residents are now urging the relevant authorities in Freetown and the City Council to urgently clear the drainage and enforce proper waste management measures. They warn that without immediate intervention, the community stands to face severe flash floods. For SLBC News, Esther Susanette Bossy reporting.
Meanwhile, as Sierra Leone enters the peak of the rainy season, further flooding are once again growing following last year's devastating incident that claimed lives, destroyed homes, and displaced hundreds of families. Authorities say measures are now being intensified to reduce the risk of another disaster. The National Disaster Management Agency says it is working closely with the Freetown City Council and other partners to strengthen preparedness and raise public awareness. Mohammed Elba, Director of Communications at the agency, is urging citizens to keep drainages clean, manage waste properly, and avoid building in unsafe areas. Has an excerpt of Mohammed Elba's assertions.
Nothing.
Since the establishment of the institution, we have been able to implement series of mitigation interventions in most of these communities, and I will tell you that that is the reason why the impact has been very minimal. At Wellington, for example, there was a major area that used to flood. We worked with Concern Worldwide, and we were able to construct a 13 meters long drainage that contains the water flow whenever it rains, and that has minimized the occurrence of flooding to a very large extent in that particular area. So floods can be categorized into two. We have floods as a result of waste management because of poor management of waste by citizens, and which to a very large extent is strong and a very persistent behavioral pattern. And we also have the other limb of it that is caused by inimical activities within the societies, i.e. people constructing on waterways, for example, constructing their fence, blocking a major waterway and divert water into the community, or some other people that are just building on top of drainages, for example. So that is a whole category, And the third aspect, I beg your pardon, is that there are certain people, even if you get everything right, the most flood based on the location where they are, especially those low-lying areas, or those that are in the well, we might not necessarily see from those that are in low-lying, because there are some low-lying communities that are also not, within the swampy areas, but they experience flooding. We record more than 200 minutes of rain per hour, for example. So those low-lying areas will actually experience flooding. So those are the two categories. With respect to the construction, we've done enormous to ensure that we demolish, we put a stop to certain constructions that have been done, that we know if that particular construction is completed, it will lead to flooding in that particular community. We've intervened together with the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Lands. We've done series of demolitions across Freetown. Where we are having a major and persistent challenge is the area of waste management. Currently, we are implementing every year. NDME has its flood mitigation strategy that we implement across the country, and that mitigation strategy targets specific interventions. We go to these communities, we do conduct assessment, and we know the type of vulnerabilities that they are exposed to. If it's a clogged drainage, we identify that. If it's a building or a street or whatever challenge they are exposed to, we identify that. Based on that assessment for this year, as of yesterday, we've just completed a mitigation intervention in Makini. We cleared a major waterway in Makini along Mabanta Lunsa Road within the fisheries area. We are mindful of the fact that in the execution of our mandate, we also have other institutions that their responsibility also fall within the same thing that we are doing to a very large extent. Say, for example, at the Freetown City Council now, to a very large extent, we have been collaborating a lot with the Freetown City Council with respect to waste management and, of course, also disaster response. So we've held series of trainings. I'm fully aware of the efforts they are applying in ensuring that those clean salon guys are identified, are trained, and are also given tag, so that they can be identified, so that they will have certified, clean salon guys that will be collecting data. I'm aware of that plan. So it's a major challenge, and Freetown is somehow big, and the Freetown City Council or the NDM will not be at every community. That's just the fact. However, it is something that we are planning to curtail. One of the other things that we are thinking about also is to work with government and ensure that we have permanent dumping sites in most of these communities that do not have dumping sites, especially the hilly communities, so that the dependence on giving clean salon their debts to go and throw, will reduce drastically. So there are a range of options that we are looking at to curtail that, but yes, I agree that challenge exists. However, these are some of the things that we are doing to ameliorate that.
Well, that was the NDMA Director of Communications, Mohammed Elba, talking on strategies being put in place to reduce the impact of flooding this year. Now, citizens who rely entirely on trading to survive have cried to government to find an alternative location for their petty trading. This plea came following the numerous demolitions of stalls and makeshift structures within the city. Cynthia Kamara witnessed the demolition exercise at Gaza and Model Junction.
This action by the police is a demonstration of their mandate to implement law and order and by large extent discourage negligence by citizens. The rapid demolition by the force is primarily to minimize street trading within the CBD and other crucial areas. Citizens affected confirm their primary reliance on trade to make ends meet.
It is through this business I and my family survive. Lunch and school fee are all paid for through this business. Government should help us.
Most of me are streets are there. Say we don't get back then they go now follow go sell anything and they I don't me na see me parents then they can't go back me I know wetin the wale do. I mean I dey got the papa government. Go on jump again as gonna streets will come out. So picking out they take care for their sister they take care. Yeah na happy. What's how we go survive I know them man.
How do they expect us to survive? This is the fourth time they are demolishing our stores. We want the government to consider us.
Since September 18, 2025, that Sewa grounds was commissioned, 8 months till date, it has not been open to the public. And one of the purposes for the commissioning of Sewa grounds market was to reduce and minimize street trading in the CBD and other crucial areas within the city. This particular structure has over 1,000 stalls, over 500 shops, and other office spaces. The opening of Sewa Grounds Market will definitely reduce street trading and the numerous demolition within the city.
Prohibiting people from occupying certain areas should come along with the provision of alternatives. Constructing similar structure like Sewa Grounds Market will automatically limit street trading and congestion. Meanwhile, affected victims have decided to obey the instruction of government by evacuating the areas as they look forward to appropriate authorities to provide them an alternative space for them to do their business, which they say is part of their franchise as Freetonians. For SLBC News, Cynthia Kamara reporting.
You're still watching Newshour on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation in Freetown. The rest of the news continues. A resident of Kamakwe, the administrative headquarters of Kaine District, are voicing growing frustration over a persistent digital blackout. Mobile network and internet failures have brought daily life and local commerce to near standstill in the northern township. With the local economy heavily reliant on digital banking, the lack of a signal is doing more than just dropping calls, but it's freezing livelihoods. Joyan Dumbuya finds out more.
For months now, the people of Kamakwe have battled a digital ghost town. Dropped calls and total signal blackouts are no longer just an inconvenience, but they are a financial crisis. In a region where mobile money is the primary source of financial transaction and the lack of connectivity means businesses cannot send or receive payments, leaving both traders and customers stranded. Daniel Sise, a mobile money operator, noted that even for a simple money transaction, it is difficult. People walk for miles just to find 1 bar of signal, let alone talk of making transfer.
Retailers are a losing battle. There is constant failure that causes more harm than good, making it impossible to serve my customers. I want the government to intervene before my small business collapses entirely.
Due to network problem, we can get some kind of issues.
The struggle is constant, but for some, the timing of the outages is particularly strange. Abdullahi Kamara, another retailer, says the network seems to have a curfew.
When the day they reach, we get network, but as network reach now,
We get faint signal during the day. The network completely vanishes at night and doesn't return until morning. Retailers here are in the dark, both literally and figuratively, and we haven't been told why the service is so poor. We want the telecom companies to carry out urgent repairs.
with this network.
It isn't just the market that is suffering. In the healthcare sector, the lack of communication can be a matter of life and death. Samuel Toure.
Well, it's now time for our international news. This is the international news, and I am Stella Bangura. Iran's grip over the Strait of Hormuz is throttling the world's energy supplies and inflicting global economic pain. But a U.S. naval blockade and deepening pressures on its own economy are also testing its ability to withstand the war and defy Washington's demands. Iran's leaders have also insisted that they plan to retain some kind of control over the strategic waterway at the mouth of the Gulf. Iranian authorities have announced measures to help Iranians bear crippling prices, but many of these policies, including a 60% hike in the minimum wage and coupon programs for buying essential goods, are stoking inflation. Since the war began, free bus and metro fares in the capital are also not helping the capital's struggling taxi drivers. Many Iranians are scrambling to find new ways to make money. Africans should welcome all foreign investors and put colonial hang-ups behind them, Nigerian businessman and philanthropist Tony Elumelu told newsmen. He was speaking during this week's Africa Forward Summit in Nairobi. Elumelu, 63, is one of Africa's wealthiest people, sharing banking and investment firms, including Transcorp and United Bank for Africa. Elumelu's investment firms are involved in everything from hospitality and real estate to energy, agribusiness, and financial services. Africa has become a place of economic competition between multiple powers, including the United States, China, Europe, Russia, Turkey, and Gulf monarchies. He said Africa youth need jobs, they need improved access to electricity and internet service. Macron's arrival comes during a period of heightened diplomatic activity in the Horn of Africa, where Red Sea security concerns, shifting alliances, and ongoing regional tensions have drawn increased international attention. Ethiopia, emerging from years of conflict and economic strain, has been working to rebuild and diversify its foreign partnerships. France has supported Ethiopia through development initiatives and cultural projects, while maintaining dialogue on regional stability and security. The trilateral meeting with Guterres and Yusuf at the AU headquarters highlights the broader geopolitical context as global powers recalibrate their engagement in the Horn of Africa. And finally, for the international news segment, South Africa's suspended police chief, Fanny Masimola, has returned to the Pretoria Magistrates Court alongside alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Matlala and more than a dozen others. Masimola faces 4 charges of contravening the Public Finance Management Act relating to an almost $14 million contract awarded in 2024 to Matlala's company, Medicare 24. The case has been postponed to 26 June for further financial investigations, verification, and disclosure of the docket. The other accused are answering to charges of corruption, fraud, and money laundering in relation to the case. Allegations about the tender came up at an ongoing national inquiry set up by President Cyril Ramaphosa last September to look into alleged widespread corruption in the police force.
And that is the end of the international news segment. With me, Stella Bangura. Stay tuned.
Many thanks to Stella Bangura for that international news. Let's now find out the latest in sports.
There's been a lot. After 20 years of playing the game, obviously there's a lot. So, but I think I'm going to have to key in on when I became a professional football soccer player. That's what they call it in America. Because when I moved to the US at the age 16 and I went to college by 19, and my goal was I want to be a professional footballer by 21. And in 2006, I get drafted to become a professional footballer for the Columbus Crew. So I would put that as the key moment because it started everything.
And in 2008, you started playing for the senior national team in the US.
Yeah, just 2 years later. You know, I think my story was moving to the US and being a refugee and not a citizen. But by 2006, when I became a professional soccer player, I used my first paycheck to get myself my citizenship. At that time, my $5,000 delightful pay to get a citizenship. So I did that. And at the end of the season in 2006, I also said I'm going to buy a ticket in Kansas for the first time. So I came to Sierra Leone. So by 2006 and 2007, I was really involved in all like the different communities, football and all these things. It gave me back the memories of when I was growing up in Sierra Leone. So that sparked me when I went back. By 2008, there was actually the Olympics going on, and the U.S. called me to represent the U.S. in the Olympics, and I was like, I think I want to play for Salvador. So, and that was why I came and started playing for Sierra Leone in 2008.
Was it a difficult decision?
You know, I actually was just in the car while I drive here. I gave one of my friends a ride. He's also from America. And he asked me that, he's like, if you had a chance, if you had to go back, would you make a decision to play for the U.S. instead of Scotland? I said, no, it wasn't a difficult decision. I wanted to be here. I wanted to be in Sierra Leone. I wanted to represent Sierra Leone because I missed that when I left, you know. And I think if I would have stayed in America and played for the U.S., I don't think I would have had that same connection. You know, I would not, I don't know. I don't think, you know, my kids would have, you know, been the way that they now so Sierra Leone and they listening to, you know, Jason League, you know, incredible JJs and therapists and these guys. Like, I don't think it would have been the same thing. So it was a hard decision to make, but I'm happy I made it, and I don't think if I have to go back in time in life, I'll still make a decision for represent Sierra Leone, give with stress.
Definitely. Now let's talk about that historic goal you scored for Sierra Leone in Guinea at the General Lansana Stadium. That was a testing goal he did. The goal that took Sierra Leone to the third African appearance.
Yeah, I was made for it. You know, that me was put there to say, you have to be the one. You know, because I think, like I say, the way my story was, you know, born and raised in Panama, leaving, you know, throughout everywhere I've been, Salvador, being a refugee in America, grew up there, became a professional, decided to not play for the U.S., play for Salvador. Through all the years of everything what I go through in the national team, you know, I love my country, I love the players, and I always stand for them. And I think that's why, you know, God said you're going to be standing there at that moment, and you'll be the one to put the country into the position we need at that time. So it's a moment where, you know, I don't ever, you know, forget. It was very, very, very special to take, you know, Sierra Leone to the African Cup of Nations after like 20.
Alright, many thanks to our sports desk for that update, and that's how we wrap up this edition of the news from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation in Freetown. Now to end the news, here's a recap of our top stories. President Julius Maada Bio has said Africa requires leaders that are willing to make critical choices that would shape the continent's economic design to transform the next generation. He was addressing dignitaries at the closing session of the Leadership Colloquium held at Bintumani Conference Center in Freetown. SLPHA and SLRSA have enforced tougher safety rules for container trucks after fatal accidents. Trucks without valid license, insurance, registration numbers, roadworthy tires, and secure containers will be denied port access, while container trucks will now operate only on designated routes and during approved hours. And heavy rainfall has destroyed livelihoods in some parts of Freetown as farmers cultivating crops under the Congo Cross Bridge and at New England Ville in Freetown suffered major losses following heavy downpour that hit parts of the capital in the late hours of Tuesday, May 12. They're now calling on residents living at the hilltop to properly manage waste disposal and keep drainage systems clear. And that's the end of the news from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation in Freetown. Thanks for watching, and do continue to stay tuned to your public broadcaster, the SLBC. More stories will pop up in our 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. editions of Newshour. Coming up next is Good Morning Sierra Leone. I am Cecilia Ali Cisse. Goodbye.